Have you ever noticed that almost everything in life can be divided into one or two categories? Subjective or objective? Think about it. Cars, movies, music, pizza. Ask 10 people which pizza is the best, and you'll probably get 10 different answers. Hell, I don't know my favorite pizza from any day to another. Ask 10 people what makes a great DJ or who is a great DJ, and you will get 10 different answers. Today, I'll show you the difference. There are subjective opinions. There isn't one right answer. Objective is different. Objective is not based on opinions, it's based on facts. 2 + 2 = 4. Water freezes at 32 degrees. A football field is 100 yards. Those things are not opinions, they're measurable facts. So where does choosing a DJ fit? Here's the interesting part. There isn't an official scorecard that determines whether a DJ is good or bad. There isn't a panel of judges handing out scores. Most people try to be objective when they choose a DJ, when all they really are being subjective. Here are some subjective things that you will hear. My friend is a DJ. The venue said he's great. He played all my favorite songs. I just liked his personality. After more than 4 decades, tens of thousands of events, 1,300 weddings myself, not as a busboy, I might have learned something. In fact, there are objective qualities that separate an average DJ from an exceptional one. Just because you buy a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle doesn't mean you're gonna put it together. Just because you have some extra cash and you buy a C8 ZR1X, that doesn't make you a race car driver. Just because you go to Lowe's and you buy a 1,000-piece toolkit, you're not a mechanic. So why do people think that this is different? Just because you have a laptop, just because you have a subscription to Spotify, just because you call the guys at Sweetwater and buy an FLX4, this does not make you a DJ. How many times have you heard these things or said these things yourself? He is my friend. Subjective. I have had some friends for more than 50 years. Hell, I've had one of them for 55 years. And if any of them bought DJ equipment, I wouldn't hire them. In fact, I have one friend whom I've known since the 3rd grade. He dresses up as a DJ, but he also plays for Taco Bell drive-thru money. Friendship and professional ability are 2 completely different things. I like his style. Subjective. What the hell does that even mean? Come on. Even the answer to the question is subjective. His style of music, his style of dress, his style on the microphone, his style of mixing, his style is entertaining. Style is one of the most vague words that people use when choosing a DJ. Until you define what style is, you haven't said a damn thing. He's cheap. That's subjective. Cheap compared to what? A $20,000 car is cheap to one person, expensive to another. A $25 steak is overpriced to some, cheap to another. Price is simply a number, value is judgment. The same is true when hiring a DJ. A cheap DJ may be the best value you've ever received or the biggest mistake that you will make on your biggest day of your life, your wedding. Cheap doesn't answer the question, it only adds to the confusion. The venue recommended him. Subjective. Congratulations, you now know where someone works. You also know where he doesn't work. But what don't you know? Why did they recommend him? Is it because he's the best? Is it because they have a business relationship? Until you know why they recommended him, you still haven't answered the question. A venue recommendation by itself carries no more weight than he's my friend. Both are recommendations, neither is evidence. He's a great communicator. Subjective. There has to be communication. That's part of the job, and I am very good at communicating. Returning phone calls, answering emails, responding to text messages, to me, those are minimum expectations. None of that tells me whether he can run a reception, command a room, read a crowd, or keep the dance floor packed. Being a great communicator doesn't automatically make you a great DJ. I had another life parallel to this one. I raced professionally. In fact, I was fortunate enough to be pretty successful and held several records before I retired, but that's another discussion. Back then, one phrase came up over and over again: good, fast, cheap. Fast and cheap isn't good. Cheap and good isn't fast. Good and fast isn't cheap. We live by those words, and at the time I thought it was just something racers said. I had no idea it was actually part of a much bigger concept. Years later, I learned that in 1969, Dr. Martin Barnes developed what became known as the Iron Triangle. It was created to help avoidable the trade-offs in project management. We were living the concept long before we knew it had a name. The concept has been used in engineering, construction, manufacturing, and countless other industries where important decisions must be made objectively rather than emotionally. The original three corners were time, cost, and scope. So what the hell does that have to do with this discussion? Everything. Because if we're going to stop choosing DJs based on subjective opinions, then we need an objective framework to replace those opinions. That's exactly what we're about to build. And there's only one logical place to begin: experience. Experience is an objective concept. Experience has many layers. Let's peel back those layers. Experience is measured in events, not years. You can have a pair of Technics 1200 sitting in the bottom of your closet collecting dust. That doesn't mean you have 31 years of experience. It means that you've owned DJ equipment for 31 years. Experience isn't measured by years, it's measured by events. On the other hand, someone who works in a nightclub every weekend and picks up the occasional wedding could accumulate more real-world experience in 2 years than someone whose equipment has been collecting dust for 3 decades. Time measures ownership, events measure experience. How about event diversity? That's objective. What is meant by event diversity? I'm going to list a few event types: weddings, clubs, festivals, corporate events, school functions, prom, homecoming. How about fairs or carnivals? Parties, and every type of party is different. Here's one that very few DJs ever get a chance to do: mix front of the house for a live band. I recommend it. The skills you gain there are incredible. Every one of those environments demands a different skill set, a different audience, a different mindset, and a different way of doing the job. A wedding isn't a nightclub. A nightclub isn't a corporate event. A corporate event isn't a high school dance. Experience isn't just measured by how many events you've done, it's also measured by how many events that you have successfully performed. How about technology evolution? That's very objective. If you only bake frozen pizza, then you can say you're versed in pizza making. If you've only DJ'd with a controller and a laptop, have you really experienced the evolution of DJing? Vinyl, CDs, MP3s, laptops, controllers. First of all, don't even go there. I'm not saying that any one of these concepts are better than another, far from it. What I am saying is I learned on vinyl. Vinyl demanded different skills because the technology couldn't do those things for you. Every generation of technology teaches you something different. The more generations you have lived through, the broader your experience becomes. Technology changes, experience accumulates. How about problem solving? That's objective. If you think you're going to perform for years and nothing ever goes wrong, you're fooling yourself. Things break. Power goes out. Microphone batteries die. Speakers fail. The order of events change. The weather changes. People get drunk. Experience is learning what to do to solve problems without the audience knowing there ever was one. How about understanding music? That's very objective. Anyone can subscribe to Spotify and hear music, but do you listen to music? Do you understand how it's built? Every song has structure, phrasing, intro, bridge, and a chorus. Every song is written in a key. Do you know how to use the Camelot wheel? Then there's BPM. because energy matters. Those are tools that allow a DJ to build the energy instead of destroying it. Music doesn't exist on its own. You still have to look up. You still have to read the room. Sure, Serato and Virtual DJ can suggest the next song, but can they see the dance floor? Your eyes can. Your experience allows you to read the crowd, knowing why a song works and when to play it. That's what separates professionals from everyone else. So where does all of this leave us? Let's go back to where it started. Most people choose DJ for subjective reasons. What I've tried to do today is give you something different. Not to tell you who to hire, but to teach you how to hire. Now let's compare two DJs. One DJ has been performing for 10 years. Another one's been performing for more than 4 decades. Is the DJ with 46 years automatically better? Hell no. That's not what I've been saying. Years by themselves don't answer the question. Ask the questions that matter. How long have you been doing this? How many events have you actually performed? What mistakes have changed the way you work today? What processes do you have in place because of lessons that you learned years ago? Now compare those answers. That's how you begin to evaluate experience objectively. Experience isn't one number, it's the sum of everything a person has learned along the way. I'll give you a perfect example. I was doing a pretty big wedding back in 1985. It was in my hometown. I knew most of everyone there. Night's going great. Everybody's having a great time. The groom comes up to me. Hey man, can you play Glenn Frey, the one that you love? I'm like, sure, no problem. I throw it on, slow it down, lights dim, and all of a sudden, the bride comes running across the floor and dead ass punches the groom in the face. No lie, right there in front of me. The whole reason was the groom had been married before, and his ex-wife and him, their song was The One That You Love by Glenn Frey. And if you don't know that song, that's an awesome slow song even today. Well, the thing that I learned that night is from September of 1985 on, one of my requirements for doing an event, especially a wedding, is you are gonna fill out a do not play list. Don't be mad if something gets played if it's not on that do not play list. So yes, the do not play list in my world started way back in 1985. That wasn't something I learned from a book that I saw online. That wasn't something Serato taught me. That wasn't something that I heard from another DJ. I learned it the hard way. That's what experience does. It turns yesterday's mistakes into tomorrow's better decisions. Here's another example. This Friday and Saturday, I'm going to be doing my very first regatta after 46 years. Tens of thousands of events, 1,300 weddings. I've never done a regatta. And you know what? I'm excited. I get to learn something new. I get to experience something new and work with people that I never have before. Experience doesn't mean that you've seen everything. It means you've seen enough to know how to handle what you haven't seen before. And this applies to every DJ that you're considering. What I am saying to clients, hire based on the quality of the experience, not just the quantity of years. Not because your uncle, neighbor's brother has a controller and dresses up for Halloween as a DJ. That's the difference between choosing a DJ subjectively and objectively. Don't compare the years, compare the experience. I hope that you found this a little entertaining. I hope you found it a little bit educational. I have many more of these videos coming up. Thanks for tuning in. Jay Allen here. Have a great day.